Could the next potential senator from Maine be the biggest liability the Democratic Party has ever faced on a national stage? From sexually explicit text messages and a Nazi-linked tattoo to a digital footprint filled with aggressive, anti-establishment vitriol, Graham Plattner's rise to prominence is becoming a political nightmare that party leaders can no longer ignore. Before we continue, if you want to stay on top of everything happening in US politics, hit that subscribe button right now and leave a like. It really helps this channel grow and allows us to keep bringing you these deep dives into the stories the mainstream media might be trying to downplay. Graham Plattner was meant to be the breath of fresh air for the Democratic Party in Maine. A Marine veteran and an oyster farmer, he projected that rugged, populist outsider image that voters have been clamoring for. He has secured the backing of political heavyweights like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. But as he gears up to challenge Republican Senator Susan Collins, the skeletons in his closet are not just rattling, they are crashing out into the open. Let's start with the most recent bombshell, reports that Plattner was caught sending sexually explicit text messages to multiple women while he was married. This wasn't just a rumor, the information reportedly reached his own campaign staff shortly after he launched his bid. According to reports, his wife, Amy Gertner, informed a campaign aide about these exchanges, yet the campaign chose to frame it as a private marriage issue rather than a public character flaw. Plattner has since addressed the controversy, claiming that he and his wife have done the hard work to move past it. His wife, for her part, has publicly defended him, criticizing the breach of privacy that allowed these personal details to hit the headlines. But the controversies go deeper, much deeper. You've likely heard about the skull and crossbones tattoo on his chest, a design eerily similar to the Totenkopf symbol used by Hitler's SS. Plattner's explanation? He claims he got the ink during a night of heavy drinking in Croatia back in 2007 while serving in the Marines, and he allegedly had no idea what the symbol meant at the time. He since had it covered up with a Celtic knot and pictures of his family dogs, but critics are rightfully asking, how does someone fail to vet a permanent symbol on their own body for years, especially while serving in the military? Perhaps the most damning evidence, however, comes from his past life as an internet user under the handle P. Hustle. Before his run for office, Plattner was remarkably active on Reddit, where he identified as a communist and a socialist, endorsed the slogan "All cops are bastards," and even suggested that an armed working class is a requirement for economic justice. He once wrote that people who expect to fight fascism without a good semi-automatic rifle, they ought to do some reading of history. He has since dismissed these posts as dumb jokes and boasting from a time when he felt disillusioned with the government after his military service. But for the average voter, seeing a Senate candidate write such crude and violent remarks, including comments about U.S. service members, creating a major crisis of confidence. So, what does this actually mean for the Maine Senate race? The fact that party leadership is still standing behind him, meeting with him at the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee headquarters just 1 week before his primary, shows just how desperate the party is to unseat Susan Collins. They are banking on his populist appeal to overcome these scandals. But the situation is so volatile that people are now looking into a specific, little-known provision in Maine election law. This rule allows a party to replace a nominee after a primary under specific conditions, leading to widespread speculation about whether Plattner will actually make it to the general election. If more information continues to leak, the Democratic Party may have to decide if the cost of defending Plattner is simply too high. We are looking at a candidate who is essentially damaged goods by traditional standards, yet he is powered by the current populist wave. If he wins, the GOP will undoubtedly make these controversies the centerpiece of their national strategy against Democrats. If he loses or is replaced, the party loses its chance at a key seat in a critical battleground. So, I have to ask you, does a candidate's past, even if it's years old and involves posting or personal mistakes, disqualify them from holding high office in the Senate? Or are we being too puritanical in our vetting of candidates? Drop your opinion in the comments below. I read every single one, and I want to hear where you stand on this. The clock is ticking, the primary is almost here, and the eyes of the nation are on Maine. Whether you think Plattner is a victim of a smear campaign or a walking liability who needs to step down, one thing is certain: this race is no longer just about policy, it's about character, and the stakes could not be higher. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over.